032 Kings Road, Caldwell, Idaho. I have been sworn in. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you for the time granted today. I came in here with an idea to talk about something, but with the way it's gone, let's talk about something a little bit different here. In Idaho, we have a lot of agriculture, right? And even though Boise does run this economic area, Caldwell itself and the surrounding areas are not run, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, by Boise. The sugar beet factory is a very, very large portion of this area's economic profitability. And Idaho, do we have any idea of what Idaho is on the U.S. rank for sugar beet production? It's number 2 in the U.S. Wheat and barley are also high on the list. While barley isn't really a major crop of this area, wheat tends to be now, and has continued to grow over the last 2 or 3 years in particular. And Idaho is number 3 on the list of U.S. for for wheat growth. And the states in this area, we've heard a couple people talk about beef. Idaho produces $2.12 billion worth of beef per year economically. That is also 1.7 billion pounds of beef. So we're number 11 in the U.S. in that. I don't have really a say in if the impact area grows or not. Oh, well, I'd rather it not grow because of this, but I don't necessarily think it needs to decrease. I think it's beneficial if it does to protect the farmland around us, but we need to contemplate the fact that 94%, and this is numbers I have, from 2015, so I don't have newer ones. I was on planning and zoning in Caldwell. I was on urban renewal board. I was on city council during this time period. And 94% of all wages made in Caldwell, Nampa were spent in Meridian, Boise, in Ada County, not in Canyon County. If we continue to have the backups that we are having on I-84, on Farmway's been down for 18 months, for 12 months, and it's got another 6 more months left on being down, can't even access the freeway, which puts more pressure on the Archer Road. We have to really, really contemplate, is the road west and south really capable because of the pressures put on Orchard, as was mentioned earlier, on Farmway, as has been mentioned, wages and I hate this term, but livable wages in the area. I don't necessarily think the last thing we need.
Hold on, you're not answering my question.
My apologies.
If we pulled the area of impact into city limits, just get rid of it. How does that change what Caldwell can do if they can service it with sewer and water?
It didn't.
To stop growth.
It didn't. I didn't suggest that. I didn't suggest pulling it into the city limits. I just said.
No, I did.
Okay, but again,
So what I'm asking you is how you're making this sound like our decision on this proposal could somehow, in some way, slow down or prevent growth.
I didn't say that at all. I did not even come close to saying that. What I mentioned, Commissioner, is that we need to provide for economic benefits of this area.
How does today's process do that?
We are talking.
I don't think that's on the table.
All I was at, well, what we were asked to come to here today was coming to put our input. All I'm doing is putting in input. I'm not asking for anything about future. I'm just giving you thoughts about today and what happens if we agree to allow for the expansion, unfettered expansion of today's area of impact. I even mentioned when I sat down here, I think the area of impact currently is perfectly okay. So I'm not sure really what you're asking. I think, well, you don't need to be rude about it, and I will absolutely go toe on it. Okay, so let me rephrase so make it clear to you while you're chuckling.
I'm not chuckling. I'm kind of frustrated because the chairman at the very beginning of this meeting, and maybe this isn't necessarily directed at you, but you're the first one to kind of bring it to the point. There's certain criteria that we have to evaluate to make this decision.
I see what you're saying. My apologies.
And your testimony basically hasn't touched any of that.
So let me
hold on. So I would argue, and I already have, that you are attempting, as others are in the public, with their testimony and the stuff that we've received, that somehow our decision is going to stop or prevent or slow down growth, when that is absolutely what we are not supposed to do, according to state law. And what we are not supposed to do according to the criteria. So it's kind of directed at you, but it's kind of directed at everyone else
Sure.
that may come after you.
So let me clarify, and I apologize. So if we're actually talking about economics, so one of the things we were told over here was talk about transportation infrastructure. That was what I did. I talked about the strain on our transportation infrastructure. So completely understand. If you want me to directly right here, I'm happy to do so. Going back, public services. Caldwell has 3 fire departments that are already incredibly taxed, and the city of Caldwell has had a really rough time funding and maintaining population base of those. So that is a big problem if we are allowed to, or we continue to move further west. Going also, the other one was asked was economic considerations. And that's another one here. We're talking about economic considerations. What is the economy surrounding us? So I'm not asking about approved or land use. I'm not asking about that. I'm not talking about annexations. I'm just talking about where are we at with the current land map. Maybe we need to, and again, this would go into this, but maybe we need to consider more mixed use. But again, that goes into that. That's why I didn't bring that up, at least in my opinion. If I'm wrong, please by all means correct me. I'm all right. But again, geographic forces, there's nothing here. Everything is fine. The map itself is perfectly acceptable for the way the geographic land works. I think all that's being considered right now is the economic and infrastructural concerns of the area. And based on how hard it is to get from point A to point B in Caldwell right now, especially if you're in center or south, it's very difficult. And that's what I'm trying to get at. My apologies.
Okay to be done.
I am too, Mr. Chairman.
And I brought this out, maybe you weren't in the room. This discussion is about the border and how the border relates to those 5 items. You talked in generalities, and my talk is to the gallery. That didn't help me much.
My apologies.
Because I need specificity. I need to know that southwest corner should be pulled in because it's active farm ground or whatever it is, and generalities, and the amount of crops that Idaho produces is wonderful. But I'm a Caney County Commissioner, and my state legislature has demanded of me to do this. And I'm doing it to the best of my ability, and I'm really trying to laser focus in on how the proposed boundary needs to be modified or not modified under those 5 criteria. And so, appreciate your comments.
I mentioned before, I thought it was perfect the way it was, and it didn't need to expand or be retracted. So make sure it gave me that.
Okay, and I missed that, and I apologize to you that I missed that.
No problem.
Okay, and I appreciate the amount of detail. I'm not wanting to belittle what you have shared with us, and because farming's important to me.
It is.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.